Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my Handyman Customs, and today I'll be talking about the do's and don'ts of when you want to buy a vehicle. So it's very important if you're buying a second-hand car to actually get professional advice, or get the car checked out. Because you find that some people buy cars and even at dealers, they're not in the right condition or good condition, and you don't want to buy a car and then stress about the engine having to break down. It's very important for you to actually consult with a professional, even if it's a professional mechanic, a person who can inspect the car, if it's whether it's good quality, it's good value for money, because cars can be very, 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 very expensive, especially if the engine breaks down or the transmission breaks down or the electronic components of the car breaks down. So today I'll be talking about one or two things that we need to go into detail on about cars. So it's very important when you buy a car, you don't buy a car that's not in a good condition. Especially me saying that not in a good condition. You need to buy a car that's the engine is still in good condition. You can tell if the engine is still in good condition by a whole lot of stuff. One which is being if the car's if the car has a lot of sludge, if the car has, if the car still is powerful or has still torque, or how it idles, or if the car heats up very quickly. So those are one of the few things that you actually need to check up on. And it's very important that when you buy a car, you actually buy a car that you know how much it costs for the worst case scenario of the car. Because you find that engines can be very expensive. Can cost around 150,000 for a new engine. And you want to buy a car and then you find yourself on the wrong side, So it's very important to consult with a professional so the car can be checked up fairly if everything is okay and it's good value for money. And it's very, 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 very important when you buy a car that you buy a car that you'll be able to maintain and afford. And then you don't buy a car that has been worked on before, because in the engine, once you work on a car once you buy a car that has been worked, or the engine has been opened in. So that's very important. It's very important to get assistance from a professional in terms of helping you when you want to buy a car, because you find that a whole lot of people have been asking me, how do you know if this car is correct? How do you know if it's right and that this car won't give any problems? Everything, well, there's nothing that doesn't break, but on a realistic version is that when you have a car, you need to buy a car that's very reliable and has history, and has been reliable. You don't just wake up and want to buy a car. I'm not going to mention car brands here. So, but what I'll mention is that when you buy a car, you need to also look at what the market is saying in terms of the car specs or the reviews on the car. Because you want to buy a car and then it has engine problems. Default engine problems from the manufacturer itself, and the engines don't last and you always have problems, like for an example, Ford Kuga. I think it was back in 2015 where Ford Kugas were burning down when they were driven. I think they were hot, something by the coolant something wasn't working okay. So you want to find yourself in that situation. So it's very important when you want to buy a car, you go and get professional help. And then, especially if it's a second-hand car, because most first-hand cars, you get warranties and a whole lot of consumer protection in terms of when you buy a car, and especially when it's a new car with 0 kilometers. So if you're buying a car, it's very important to do your homework and don't just wake up and buy a car impulsively, because you'll regret it in the end of the day. And it's very important to also check your oil on a daily basis, check your water, because those are the most important thing. A car can't run without water. If that happens, then you're breaking your engine down, which is going to cost you a whole lot of money. So on this episode, I just wanted to go into detail about the do's and don'ts about owning a car. And it's very important for a person not to miss or skip their services. If your car is due for a service, you need to actually, that's a number one priority. That's a number one priority. If your car is due for service, you need to change your oil filters, your petrol filters, your air filters, because those are the most important components that actually keep your engine well, strong, and healthier for a long time. Yes. So please don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like my YouTube channel.